Life is filled with uncertainty, and at times that can be a very painful reality. But what if uncertainty was actually liberating? How can we trust life even when things are falling apart? And what exactly does it mean to trust life? These are the questions I explore with today's guest, Lama Karma Chötso. I first met Lama about 6 years ago when she led the Open Awareness Buddhist Center Sangha here in Miami. I remember she was showing me around the garden and the stupas, and at one point I asked her, Lama, are you enlightened? And she stopped, turned around, and said something like, oh my gosh, no, are you crazy? That takes like 10 lifetimes of work. She was hilarious. After that, we shared some delicious tea and we became friends. Lama began studying and practicing the Kagyu lineage of Tibetan Buddhism in 1982 after meeting Dorje Chang Kalu Rinpoche in New York City. In 1986, Lama Karma Chötso entered a traditional 3-year, 3-month meditation retreat held in seclusion and silence. Now, Lama is retired and resides in Portland, Oregon. I am so excited about today's episode. It is truly one of my all-time favorites. The topic of trusting life feels pretty close to my heart, and I'm sure it feels close to for a lot of you. So let's get started. I'm your host, Hugo Sanchez, and this is the Business of Trust podcast. Hello, Lama. Welcome to the Business of Trust podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me here. This is exciting.
My God, it's such an honor to have you in this podcast. I am so thrilled. And the reason is because this is like the first episode that I'm taking in this new direction around trust as a general topic. And I couldn't think of a better person to talk about all of this than you. And we have a personal relationship. And I guess like I would like to start with like a definition of what does it mean to trust life, because I think a lot of times we have that connotation whenever I use that phrase in my life, it's like I'm hoping for a specific outcome. Like I trust that things are going to be all right. I trust that like this will happen. But that's sort of like, I don't know, maybe that's a confusion with hope and trust. I don't know. But so how do you understand trust and trust in life?
Well, okay, I'm going to start off with the Buddha, which is always a good place to start. But, even the Buddha said, these are my teachings. Don't just take it and say, oh, because the Buddha said this is this. He always said, take my teachings and examine them. And he taught how to examine, how to logically analyze, and to try it out and see if it works for you. Great. Doesn't work for you? Drop it. He was not this thing about it's because I say it has to be true and you have to trust that. He never said that. Never ever said that. He said you must examine it for yourself. Must. So when it comes to trust for me, now being a Buddhist for over 40 years, trust for me has to come after analysis. After really honest, dispassionate looking at what I'm supposed to trust, right? And I think without that, then it is like you're talking about, it's just a hope, it's just a throw out, it's not real. It doesn't have any stability to it. And I think the other word that we have to talk about is life, right? We have to talk, what is life? If you're going to trust in life, you better darn well examine what that is for you, right? So life is experiences, one experience after another, one moment after another. It's momentary stuff. It's not this long linear thing that if we examine it, it's not that long linear thing that we're very attached to. And so we think it's always the same with few changes, But if we really examine life, it's like our experience. And how do we experience? We experience because we have awareness. So part of the point of Buddhist practice is to work on upping your awareness beyond the normal everyday delusions. And maybe there within your own mind, you can find trust.
That examining, I guess, is like when you mentioned this examining, is like looking with awareness at our experience, right? Like at the things that are happening in the moment. And like, so in that sense, trusting life is not hoping for an outcome. Instead, it is like, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth. So like, what would be trusting life in this context?
Um, I think it would be an acceptance of your own ability to be truly aware, right? To not, you talked about ads, you mentioned ads before, right? There's nothing, there's no larger delusion in the world than an ad. you know and so even the examination of that, um, dispassionately and without any attachment one way or the other, you come out with, okay, now I see what someone else is trying to make me do,
Right. Yeah.
right?
When we were talking before the recording, you and I were having a little chat about the podcast, and we had a little conversation about ads. So that's the
About
reference
ads.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and we have to examine ourselves and see, what's the ad that I'm selling to myself about myself?
Mm,
So
right.
it really, I mean, I have to say, your first question was so loaded. I don't know,
I'm
I don't
sorry.
know if we're going to get beyond it.
Like I typically tend to confuse the terms like hope with trust and faith, and like I'm not sure like if you understand them differently, because I know you're a singer and you have a song that I really love called No Fears, No Hopes, No Fears,
Right.
and so like trust is not the same as hope, right? Like,
No, it's not. I mean, for me, and let's face it, everybody's got their own ideas about this, but let's put out the idea that trust is something that comes after examination,
mhm,
right?
I see.
Is something that comes after analysis. When you, in your own experience, can say, okay, this I can trust this, and I think that that can even move into, instead of sort of trusting life, quote unquote, it could move into trusting change,
Hmm.
trusting that change is the constant, right? That every moment is new, every thought is new, every breath is new. Um, and so I think that the trust in that sense would be very much acceptance of what we find when we examine it.
Whereas hope, it seems like it's a non-acceptance of what
Well,
is, right?
I mean, for some people, it's very important. In Buddhism, we have like aspiration prayers. I aspire to this. But hope is never a word that we use within that, because hope is kind of this little ephemeral thing like, oh, I hope my book sells. Oh, I hope that this happens. Oh, I
Right.
hope that happens. So I guess hope, because it is the way it is, brings along a little bit of anxiety with it. I hope that this happens. And then there's always a little thing of, but what if it doesn't? So that's what the song No Hopes, No Fears is about.
Right. And you know, I think like that hope that comes pretty handy in times of great uncertainty. In December, I went through a personal experience relationally that had like a lot of uncertainty around it, and it really trickled into my work, in life, and in other aspects of my life. And in any moment when we're like facing with a lot of uncertainty, I feel that I had to repeat myself like I trust life, but like I I guess what I'm trying to say is like whenever there's a great deal of uncertainty, I immediately try to get in this mode of fixing, of trying to get like solid ground under me, to have a plan, to have a certain sense of control over life, to exert influence in my sphere of influence, to create changes the way I want it to be. Like I manipulate things around. And like, is that a healthy thing to do, or like, should we? Does that go in odds with trusting? Is trusting more like relaxing into what is?
I think I like that. The trusting is more about relaxing into what actually is. I like that. I think that's a really good phrase that you use there. There's one Buddhist teacher who said, I forget who it was, but he said, imagine that you have just jumped out of a plane at like 35,000 feet or something, and you're falling, 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 and you have no parachute. But that's the bad news. The good news is there's no ground. So uh, that uncertainty really throws us for a loop, right? That really basic uncertainty, that really there's a fishiness about something here. Something here is not quite right. But if you can breathe into no ground, if you can breathe into the uncertainty and just watch how things unfold and let it unfold, sort of without just sitting back and just letting it unfold. What does that feel like? I think that feels like trusting that you're going to be okay one way or the other, right? And, there's nothing wrong with that.
It is as if I remember reading this book by Pema Chodron where she says like we know that when things fall apart, and this sense of like the rock pulls on being pulled under your feet, and what I remember reading in this book is that that's our nature. Like that is that I mean the sense of solid ground was always an illusion, and do you resonate with that? Like is like
Absolutely.
why are
Absolutely.
there moments that that feel like free falling, and those are the real moments? Is that life what is, but we just happen to experience it in that moment as is, and the moments where we feel like we're not free falling, that's just like we made an illusion to what's the real aspect of life?
I mean, another loaded question to go. But it's I think that the free falling sense um is liberation, right? The freedom of just allowing and accepting and observing, you know, but free of that constant emotional and physical engagement, and when we are in that mode of constant physical and emotional engagement, then we are really trying to get a certain outcome, right? There's a certain outcome that we feel we need. So then you can examine, okay, what is the need? Where does the need come from? Why is this? What about this is sort of not okay for me? And why? There's so many, these moments are so rich. They're so rich for self-examination. They're so rich for growth. When we're contented and just happy and hanging out, we're not growing very much, but those really, really tough, just excruciating moments is when we have to up our game, we have to adult ourselves through it. We have to get to accept that there is no ground. Hey, what does that do for me? It might frighten me at first, but doesn't it also liberate me?
I can tell from my experience after December being a free falling month for me that that's definitely true. Like I step into January without with a recharged sense of me. Like I think like a wiser sense of who I am, more rooted. My uncle Carlos, which you met, like referred to that moment as I was going through a birth canal, and that was painful. Lama,
Mm-hmm.
I somehow I want to get pick your brain on this because somehow I see the connection between trust, acting from a place of trusting life, uh, and acting from a place of manipulating life, and they can look very similar because you're putting out there stuff like you could be like you're acting in a way, but let me rephrase that. I want like because I want to think about. I think I'm thinking about creativity, like stepping into a flow state and creativity, And sometimes when you were in this like manipulating sense, like that creativity is like, I'm talking from my experience, I felt that I would be like more contracted, like creating around a specific outcome. But whereas trust and access that creativity is more of like a dance, it's more expansive, and I don't know what it's gonna happen. Have you have you experienced this? Like, do you have any thoughts on that
Ab-
access to creativity?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the best part of creating. That's when creation happens. It's when you have boundaries. It's okay. I mean, it's good to create within discipline. It's good to create within boundaries. So if you're a painter, yes, you may be totally free with your subject and with, you might not have any great idea about what what your painting is going to end up as, but you still have to work with paints and brushes, right? So within that, things have to happen. But it's that the creativeness for me, I need a lot of mind space to be creative, even if it's within the context of like a novel, right? There still has to be, for me to actually sit down and write that novel, there has to be the space for, whatever's going to happen happens. And my book, which is coming out shortly, hopefully in the next couple of months, it's called Rinpoche. And within that book, I really had to let the characters do what they did once they became characters, right? And so there were surprises in the book for me. That some of them I edited out later because they didn't serve the story. But so it's that it. I think that we work within the boundaries of our craft. We work within the boundaries of what we need for our craft, but we have to have that dance. I love that you said dance, because it's really, it's a dance of everything that's going on in our minds. And, you can pick and choose and you can entertain yourself and you can do it. Your mind can do anything, right? So yeah, I love that the real creative stuff comes when there's room for the dance.
The reason why I'm asking this, I think I ask it for me and a lot of people I work with who are entrepreneurs, and we're creating stuff. We're creating a business, and we're putting together events, offers, programs. And a lot of times we have a business plan to attract clients doing this event, and then like we're gonna send these emails and blah, blah, and sometimes things don't work out, and sometimes the macroeconomic aspects or the bigger influences shaping the business come into play. So I think as entrepreneurs there's a lot of dance that happens with the business and the market, and there's a lot of uncertainty, so that's why I wanted to talk about that. Prompted me to wanting to talk about trusting life in general.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's lovely to talk about that in terms of the entrepreneurial aspect of it, of how you really have to be open to, if you're locked into something and you can't allow anything to change, you're not going to be successful, right? It's sort of the name of the game, right? So it's again, you have your discipline, you have your boundaries, and within that you still have to be open to changes. And if you are, then like your dance starts to happen, and you can dance with whatever shows up. And that's where things get really good for both the entrepreneur and the people that are using whatever that business might be.
Hmm. Yeah, and because in that space for the dance, I think really lies our creativity when we can actually relax into it and look and have the experience of it to use the language you were using at the beginning. And when you were when I started the interview with that loaded question of what is trust in life, you mentioned there is like that experimental aspect of like really uh of really looking at your experience. Um, is there a marker in the body that tell us that we are in that dance space with life, that we're trusting life? Is there a somatic, like a signal that tells us yes, you are trusting life? Because sometimes it can be elusive.
I think, body stuff I'm not so sure of. But I do know that when you can do that, you have resilience. And if you have resilience of mind, you're going to have better resilience of body, because body follows mind. It's not the other way around.
Hmm.
So I think that sense, that resilience, is where you can see, like, okay, this is working, because you're moving with the flow. So many people get so locked into their perspective, that perspective becomes fixated. And when you're fixated on one perspective, then there's no resilience. When things change, you can't look at it from a different angle. If you can't look at things from different angles and you're an entrepreneur, you're going to lose the game, right? I mean, you know that. You know that really well. So I think it's a sense of resilience, that then, I guess, in the body, it would be that you're breathing more deeply, you're not stressed, you don't physically stress the body, because the resilience in your mind allows for the stress to be, it's not stress anymore. It's like a challenge, or it's interesting, or it's something to figure out. Oh, what fun, instead of it being stress.
I think that's a perfect segue to the next question I have. That for me, that place of curiosity comes very easy when with light things. When life is good, when I like the challenge is just right. But when I'm gonna say, when shit hits the fan, and when I'm like so triggered, on edge, in moments of grief, of despair, of loneliness, of heartbreak, it's so hard to trust life and to enter this space of curiosity. I just want to I just don't want to feel this way. I experienced that in December. I felt like an iron ball in my stomach, and like it wouldn't go away for weeks, and I was like, I don't want to feel this way. I will do anything to not feel this way. But while the circumstances were there, it was so hard. So um how do we access trust in life in those super triggered
Right.
moments?
You don't forget about it. Forget
Mm.
about trust in life during that moment. You're asking too much of yourself. But what you can do is step away in your mind, away from the triggers and away from engaging in them, and sit with the awareness that you have, that's allowing you to experience it. So whatever it is that you're experiencing, if you are sort of connected and open to your own awareness, you can just sit back and say, okay, I'm watching this happen. And anytime that you can disengage yourself for even a few moments, when you get back to whatever that thing was, it's never as strong, right? So when those things happen, to just say, okay, this is my experience. My awareness is allowing me to experience this. My awareness is allowing the experience to happen, and sit with the awareness, right? It's a completely different experience then, because you talked about triggers. Boy, we've all got triggers. We've all got them. But what we do with them is another thing. So let's say that you get very triggered by something, and you immediately go, okay, I can either engage in this, or I can just watch what's happening. And all of a sudden you have a completely different perspective on what's going on. And sometimes then you can even get to the point where you say, groundlessness is really liberating. you know because awareness is not grounded in anything really, but it is what allows you to experience.
You
So
just said
it
s- you just said something that it just hit me. You said groundlessness is very very liberating. And I want to come back to this moment in December. I remember feeling all of the sensations, and I was like feeling like some sort of like truth in my heart. Like my heart was telling me some things that were truth that I was trusting. I was like, I don't know that what's gonna happen, but I can trust my heart when it's telling me that I need to do this and this. But then I started questioning, I don't trust my heart when it's telling me that I need to take a pause from my business and relax, because at this moment, like I was doing a big push in my business and I was like leading to burnout. And the next day I started actually toying with the idea of taking a pause with my business. And I did. Like January has been a moment of general overall partial pause, because I'm the owner. I can disengage from my responsibilities, but the pressure went away. And in that time, somebody reached out to me with the biggest project that I would handle at the agency yet. So it was so interesting to see, like, when I was able to relax and trust that, like, how, like, that was liberating, like to actually trust what my heart wanted to say. And I wouldn't have accessed those truth of my heart, as I call it, if I wasn't going through the excruciating pain of the uncertainty. uh, so
Yeah,
when you,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Living with uncertainty and accepting uncertainty turns it around. It's no longer uncertainty. It's that creative dance. It's the space of liberation. But a new perspective, you just need a new perspective. And so that's why I say, go back into your own awareness and just look at what's going on. Just watch it.
Right. Because certainty is fixed, right? Certainty is like, this is the certainty. The truth, the uncertainty is liberating, because the possibilities are endless. And what we do, I guess, is we dance with that uncertainty. As in, wow, wow.
Exactly. You got it. You got it, Hugo. Because uncertainty is not necessarily suffering. It just isn't. It is every single moment of your life, and your life is nothing but one moment after another moment after another. Every moment can be a moment of confusion or a moment of clarity, and it's your choice. You got the awareness. You can, and you got the intelligence and everything that goes along with it, and you can choose.
Every moment in your life can be a moment of confusion or clarity. And what's the difference? I mean, I know the
What?
difference between confusion and clarity, but like how do I, if I'm looking at a situation, I'm feeling confused, how do I turn that into clarity?
Okay, so you're confused right now.
Right now I'm
In that,
confused,
right now you're confused between confusion and clarity.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so slip back into your own awareness. And moment to moment, which is confusion and which is clarity.
It's the experience. Wow. I see it now.
Yeah, I know. That's so great. That's so
Oh my
great.
gosh. Wow. That was amazing, because right now, I mean, it just took a few breaths, but there was just a stillness. There wasn't the chattering of the brain time to rationalize it. There was just like a stillness, and that was easy. That was less confusing, maybe
That was
clear.
that was that was clarity. Yes. Yeah.
Lama, that was impressive. Thank you. What a gift.
Well, I think you're the one who's impressive. You had to do the work. I just sat here and talked.
Wow. Well, I think that's a great way to end this conversation.
I think so too. Yes.
Thank you so much, Lama. Can you tell us a little bit about your book? Because I'm very curious, and I'm sure our listeners are curious to learn more about your book, your music, where they can find you online.
Oh my goodness. I've been retired for a couple of years now, and so everything is kind of like falling apart. So it all has to be pulled back together again. But the book, people asked me for many years, because I wrote a book of poetry many years ago, and they kept asking me to write a book about Buddhism, And honestly, right now there are so many different books about Buddhism, great translations, fabulous teachers, teaching in our language. And I thought, for people who are not Buddhists, what would I do? I would tell them a story. I would tell a story, and the story would include different Buddhists and different situations. And that became the novel. And it takes place partially in Tibet in the 1970s and in the US in the 1990s.
Is it fiction or is
Yes,
it yeah, nice.
totally fiction, based on, decades of experience with, Asia and with Buddhism and Tibet and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's the book.
Beautiful.
And yeah, it's interesting because it is a lot of it is about, actually most of it is about what happens to a child who experiences wartime atrocities.
Very timely.
Exactly. It was timely when I started it 10 years ago, and it's still timely. Sadly, it's still, um, and so that's the book.
And are you still writing music and publishing music?
No, I
No.
haven't
Okay.
done anything musically for a while. Um, I
But your
did,
music can be found on Spotify, if I remember correctly, under
yes,
Lama
yes, it's on
KC. Yeah.
Lama Kayc. Yes, Lama KC.
Yeah.
And No Hopes, No Fears. And that's also on YouTube with a video that a friend of mine put together. So that's still there. Yeah. So now my next task is to pull all of the social media that I've been ignoring, pull everything together, and get a book launch done. And hopefully by the end of May it will be out there, and then I can just concentrate on book number 2, which is a sequel.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lama. And if people want to connect with you online, what is the best way to send them?
To send a message?
No, what's the best way to send people? Where should we send people to connect with you online? Like, is Instagram, Facebook, or your
I
website
think
maybe?
Instagram is good. I don't usually post my own stuff, but I'm so excited about the monks that are walking for peace. And so you'll see every day. I don't know what I'm going to do when they finally reach Washington, D.C., because every morning I do nothing but post the walk for peace. And I'm really going to
Good.
miss them when they're done. Um, but yeah, so you can connect with me there. And MiamiBuddhism.org is still a functioning website. So there's that too.
Great. So I'll put the
And
links in the.
there's actually lamakc.com.
Thank you so much for your time, for sharing your wisdom.
Thank
Namaste.
you. Namaste. Take care. Stay in touch.
Well, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Lama Karma Chötso. Make sure to check out the show notes because I left some links there to Lama's Instagram and her website. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to go to thebusinesstrust.com or in whatever platform you are and subscribe and rate us. It really helps to spread the word on this podcast. Also, if you know of someone who can benefit from this, feel free to share it and let us know what you think. We love to hear from you. Bye for now, and I'll see you in our next episode.